Thank everybody for coming here today. This is the first Sunday of the year. A month from now, we'll be celebrating our 5th anniversary. So next potluck, we're going to try to put together a special service where we're going to be doing mostly demonstrations. It'll be a couple mediums to come and we'll do a whole message service that Sunday. Kind of mix it up between a short message and a bunch of spiritual messages, just to celebrate and be a month from today, next first Sunday, because that's the anniversary. I'll put it out on the email. So thank you all for coming here today. Please silence your cell phones unless you're medical or law enforcement personnel. Ask anybody to light the candles today. About Valerie, would you like to light the candles starting the service? Thank you. Please stand for the first invocation and remain standing for the first thing. Dear Father God, we give thanks for this gathering here today. May we feel this new year, feel your love and hope, move us into the new year, and may we share that with all we come into contact with. Amen.
Amen.
Sing hymn 12. This is the spiritualist hymn. Hymn 12 for the beauty of the earth.
Next portion is a thought for the day from the past. Today's been an interesting day. The lecture canceled. I didn't think Marty was going to make it here. She walked in the door at the last minute. Marty, the musician. I thought we were going to have a good New Year's there the first Sunday, but Marty showed up and I showed up, so I guess we're going to have a service. And you showed up. Something that came across my mind this past week was, and it's appropriate for this time of year, is a lot of times we make resolutions and those aren't just changing something new into something new, it's ending old things. And when I'm going through a phase of ending several things now, and it's very difficult sometimes to end things, and you have to end things before you begin new things. You can't really just kind of flow one into the other, the way my mind works anyway. And some of the thoughts that came across my mind about endings, it's really interesting how I talk a lot about genetic instincts, you know, the genetic memory that you've inherited over billions of years of creation has developed into what causes us to react a lot of times today in our lives. And the instincts don't like things to end. The very nature of them doesn't want life to end. It doesn't want your safety and security to end. It's always trying to keep things going and keep things the same. That's the focus of the instincts. Gather, nurture, hold on to things, don't let go of anything. That's what the instincts try to do to us. And unfortunately, as we move from a tribal consciousness into an individual consciousness, which most of us are today, the instincts have attached themselves to the emotion and our sense of who we are. And when we try to change or end something, it brings out quite a reaction a lot of the time from things. And sometimes it seems to be easier to stay like you are because it's so difficult, so emotional to try to move forward with something than it is to create the change you know you need to do. And it's just really difficult sometimes, like I said, to end things. And it's not just endeavors, it's dreams that you had that didn't work out. It's relationships, it's jobs ending. I'm getting ready to end a 24-year career, and there's a certain amount of anticipation about that. You know, something I've done every day of the week for 24 years is kind of a shift. You know, I sit around, I was off for 4 days, and I'm going, what am I going to do when I'm off 5 days a week here?
You will find so much to do.
And
I
my
got a
boss,
box of kittens you can
and my boss at work, he's at me all the time about, don't leave, you don't need to leave, why you want to leave? But, yeah, I made the job that I have. It wasn't there when I took it, and I made it into what it is, and it's pretty important to the department. I do a lot of major construction for them, build roads, build buildings, replace major equipment, hybrid new equipment generators and UPS systems onto their critical operating systems. And I do that all out of my own knowing and my own boots on the ground experience. So it saves them a lot of money with engineers, and it has somebody involved there that's vested in a positive outcome of what happens. So they're trying not, they're trying to train a guy, and he's doing well enough, but he doesn't have 24 years of experience doing this stuff. So my boss is at me, you don't need to retire now, stay another year. And he already talked me into that last year, and he's not talking me that into this year. Another year and you'll be 65, another year and you'll have 25 years here, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, in another year I'm going to be standing here just like I am now, wondering why I stayed the last year. And, I mean, it's not a bad job. I do well with it. I have a lot of freedom with it, and I get paid pretty well by it. But I'm at a stage in my life where I got more days behind me than I got in front of me, and I want to enjoy more than I have to work. And I really don't care if all I do is exist. I just want to stop going to work every day, 5 days a week. But that change again broke a lot of a little bit of fear, a little bit of anticipation, and it's mostly the instincts trying to keep me the same. And when I meditate on it, it's kind of funny. I heard an old song by Tom Petty called "Learning to Fly," and I don't have wings. And the hardest thing's coming down is what he says. The good old days may not return, you know. And he's talking about this learning how to move forward with your life and learning to fly, literally, with your thoughts and hopes. And you hear those things and it moves me forward, and it makes me excited about seeing what's coming with the rest of my life, with the next stage of my life. Because I do have a lot of skills, and I don't have any, I know that it's going to go well. I'm going to expand my work in my spiritual business, which is my true calling, and keep a little bit of a hand in the old business. I got a consultant's business started that I can use to help supplement the spiritual business. So there's a plan there, but still the anticipation, the fear, the resistance to change is almost just overwhelming. And I have ended a long-term relationship, and that's got its challenges too, because it just seems to want, you know, it just seems easier to go back and reconnect and be more comfortable with that, and that's not true, because there's a reason that it ended. There's a reason I moved beyond it, and I have to remember that. But that instinct is there, nattering away. It's like the old devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other, you know, pushing and tugging and dragging at you. So, and I guess I'm going to talk a little bit about the organization, the spirit realm, and the inspiration they give you, because that's what has carried me through these difficult times, these challenging times, these new times, is the trust in the spirit guidance that I've embraced and that I've stuck with. It'd be hypocritical of me to tell people to do it and not do it myself. So I have stuck with it, and it slowly, the smoke's settling, slowly the fog's clearing, and I'm beginning to see the new day that's unfolding before me. And it's bright and it's happy, so I'm good with that. But again, you have to realize that you have two existences within you. You've got the emotional and physical side, which is driven by instincts, and you've got the spiritual side, which is the eternal side. And they both struggle a lot with each other. And your mind is the arbitrator. The conscious decision is the arbitrator. So be responsible. Don't blame it on anybody else or anything else, what you decide to do. And try to stay with your spiritual guidance. Thank you for listening.
Our service is comprised of 3 parts. First is the healing and meditation. Second is the inspirational lecture. And third is the demonstration of the spiritual gift. So we will begin with the first portion of the service, which is healing. I would like to ask Judy and Richard, Charlie, I'm sorry, to do the hands-on healing. The way it works is you would like to receive hands-on healing. When you hear the sound of this chime, that indicates that there is a chair available for you. You can also go to the back. We have reserved chair if you would like to wait there until a chair before a healer becomes available. For those who would like to sit through the meditation, find a comfortable position to sit. Feet straight on the floor, palms up in your lap. Relax your feet, relax your knees, relax your hips, your shoulders. Take in a deep breath, inhale, and exhale. With your exhale, release and let go if there is any tension, discomfort in your physical body. Let go of the thoughts that are on your mind. If you have any worries, any concerns at this time. With your exhale, just breathe it out. Let it go for now. Bring your awareness to your breath. Engage with the rhythm of your breath. While you breathe in and out, feel your breath flowing throughout your entire body, from head to toe, moving gently. Just follow the motion of your breath. That is taking you deeper and deeper within yourself to a very quiet space within you that feels calm, gentle, and soothing. Connect with this peaceful space. And while you breathe, repeat to yourself quietly, I am at peace within and without. With each inhale and exhale, I am at peace within and without. Feel the motion of your peaceful from within and surrounding you without, and engage in this rhythm of your peaceful breath and experience your peaceful consciousness. This is the true state of your being. You are meant to be at peace always, regardless of what goes around in your life. Maintain the peace within. Be still. Do not let anything to interrupt your inner peace, your inner sanctuary, your inner freedom. Embrace this peaceful aspect of your consciousness. Be still. Be still. For it is in this stillness that you experience wholeness. It is in the silence and the quietness you feel content. Content with who you are. You are infinite. You are pure and perfect. Embrace your peacefulness and the quietness. Breathe in and breathe out, and maintain those peaceful vibrations within you and around you. Feel your awareness shifting higher, higher to your forehead and above your head, and connecting you with your higher self, the highest aspect of your being that is surrounded with brilliant, beautiful, golden light. Connect with this presence. The omnipresence, the omniscient, the omniscient you, that is part of you. In elevated consciousness, the highest consciousness of your spirit. Becoming one with the mind of God, your Creator, your mighty I Am presence. Connect. Connect with this heightened state of awareness. There are no thoughts in this state of consciousness. It is a pure state of being. Become one. Breathe in and breathe out. Become one with this presence. And in this silence, you hear the the voice of your Creator that speaks to you through your intuition, the voice of truth, the inner whisper that is always there. Become aware of your inner voice that speaks to you when you're listening. The voice of your Creator that knows beyond and above all. Feel the presence of this inner voice that is always guiding you, assisting you. Become aware. Ask, and you shall receive. For all the answers that you seek are within. Ask. And in the silence, listen for all the answers to your questions are revealed to you. Ask. And trust. Trust with what comes through your inner voice, for it is the voice of your Creator, your intuition. And trust it. Do not doubt it. For it speaks the truth. Trust your inner wisdom, the inner knowledge. Trust your inner divine guidance. And know that you are exactly where you need to be at this time. Trust the direction and the guidance that you are receiving from within, that is being shown, demonstrated in your daily life. Trust that you're being directed and guided to fulfill your highest potentials, the greater purpose that you chose to come back and fulfill, to be of service to yourself and others. Within each person, there is God. Within each soul, there is perfection. Rise above the human limitations and the conditions and focus on the perfection that is within each one of us. For in the mind of God, there is no separation, aggression. In the mind of God, there is harmony, unity, and oneness. And in the heart of God, there is no hatred or judgment. For in the heart of God, there is only love and compassion. Embrace your heart. Embrace the mind of God. Embrace your divinity and live your purpose that you chose to come back and fulfill. In the silence, give gratitude for all the love and the support that you have, both heavenly, from the spirit guides, the signs, and from your earthly friends, people that are surrounding you. For each one of them are being a guide for you, to enable you to cross the bridge to your next experience, to your next inner knowing to unfold. Give gratitude and be thankful for all the love and support and the guidance that you are receiving at this time. Surrender to the will of God. Allow God to be in charge with your actions, with your inner actions, with your decision making. For it will be for the highest good of yourself and the highest good of all. Let thy will be done, God, in the highest most. Let thy will be done. As above, so below. Let thy will be done. Surrender and trust. And so it is. Feel the golden energies coming down from your higher self down to the crown of your head, down to your physical body. See it going out through the soles of your feet and anchoring you to the earth. See this golden light expanding further out outside your body and surrounding you, filling your entire aura with this brilliant divine light that is shining from within and without, reflecting and know that you are the light of God that never fades. And you are the love of God that never ends. Wherever you are, whatever you do, just be the light that you are. Be the love that you are. As you let go of the vision, follow your breath that is bringing you back. Become aware of your physical senses. Become aware of your feet, your hands, know that light is always there. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. This time, the second portion of the service is the inspirational lecture. Dr. Thomas was assigned to speak today, but he is ill, so Reverend Steve Adkins is going to step in and do the lecture instead. As you all know by now, who Reverend Steve is, he's our pastor that serves as the pastor of this church, the People's Church of Divine Prophecy. He is actually the founder of this church. It's been almost 6 years now. We're going to be celebrating our anniversary next month. So for those who've been through the beginning and those who came in between and those who are new, please join us into that celebration. Reverend Steve is an ordained minister. He is a healer, a medium, a teacher. He's been doing his spiritual work for the past 30 years now, serving both continents, the U.S. and the UK. So please help me welcome our pastor, Reverend Steve Adkins.
Thank you, Ashkhen. There's no accidents, no coincidences. First Sunday of the year, and I get the opportunity to speak in my own church, so I guess that's appropriate. I'd like to speak a little bit today about my perceptions of the spirit world and how they've evolved over the years when I first started thinking about it. My first encounter with concepts of the other side of life was as a Catholic and as an altar boy, serving the church and feeling the divinity and the spirituality of the Catholic priest. Now, I know a lot of people got a lot of stories and a lot of feelings about that, but a person who dedicates themselves to that kind of craft, to that kind of life, has a certain amount of spirituality to them that has to be respected to a certain extent. The nuns that dedicate themselves, the priests. And I was always drawn, I remember the thing that really got me into being an altar boy was I wanted to become a priest at one time. And I wanted to be a priest that was involved in exorcisms because I had heard that the Vatican has all these centuries-old books about the spirit side of life, about the devil, about God, about angels. And I really wanted to know what that was, what the texts were, what they had written about it all this time and all these years. And so I went through that, went through the concept that was taught to me by the Orthodox religion. Shortly after that, I became a pure hedonist for quite a while and enjoyed life in that fashion and waded into the physical and imbibed myself with every possible way that could be done. And then during my recovery from being a hedonist, I stepped into being it was the Kundalini Yoga taught with a Buddhist philosophy, and I was that for about 5 years, very religiously, every morning at 5 in the morning, doing the chants, doing the yogic positions, and I did that for almost 5 straight years. And I woke up one day and said, you know, this is just not involved enough with the world around me. And again, these systems are great for the people that are in them. It's just my perceptions as I move through them as an individual. And I just woke up one day and I didn't want to sit on a mountaintop and be removed from the earth. I wanted to be involved, maybe not as much as I was when I was a hedonist, but I still wanted to be involved with people. So I moved back into, first I had to get straight, and I did that through an organization that helped me to get sober. And they are based on spiritual principles. So that brought me to a state of spiritual awakening, and that in turn brought me to the religion of spiritualism. which is where I've been at for almost 30 years on my conscious path of development. When I first started into studying to be a medium and a healer, I had no concept of where I was going with it. I had no concept that it would end up being where I am now, giving me the reality that I understand now. It was far beyond my ability to conceive this. So what I speak about today is something that I have put together, my own philosophy. It's not the right philosophy. It is not the only philosophy, but it is a philosophy that I've guided my life with for some time. And it's bared itself out. It's got me through a lot of difficult times. It's helped me enjoy happy times more. It's been a mainstay in my life that I can rely on. In the beginning, you think of God as this hierarchical being in the spirit realm that dispenses judgment and rewards good and punishes evil. And that's one concept, and that allows people to move in a certain direction towards spiritual awakening. The concept that I have of God now is more scientifically based, for lack of a better term. If you were to think of a child that just learned to add and subtract and tried to teach him trigonometry, those concepts are beyond that mind. And the totality of who God is beyond the concept of our mind at this time, because our physical mind is limited in its ability to perceive and its ability to experience things. So all we basically see, in my opinion, is the effect of God on the earth, not the totality of God's Spirit. Andrew Jackson Davis, who was a pioneer of spiritualism, was asked one time where God is at and where Spirit is at. And this is back in the 1800s, before they knew what atoms were. And he said it exists in between the smallest particles of creation, and it's called a field. So what do they call the space between atomic particles today? They call it a field. So he was actually telling people that God's influence is at that level within all of matter and within all of creation. And when you think of it like that, there is this natural movement, a natural influence at that cellular level, at that atomic level of the Spirit. And when you think of it in that aspect, rather than this deity out here that we're reaching for, you begin to try to sense that presence within yourself. And by doing that, you begin to sense that individual personal guidance of God within you that moves you, even in a subconscious fashion, through your life. And the more conscious you are of that movement, the more you are able to move through the life that your spiritual purpose has put you here for. In with this awareness and this knowing, which is a lot of my last couple of years has been trying to feel that naturalness, that almost just without able to resist movement of God within you. There's an analogy that they taught me when I was studying spiritualism. And it's as if all of creation and all of humanity is a stream running down a hillside. When you look at that stream, the middle of it is running sure and straight back to its source by the force of gravity. And this would be akin to the force of God within you. Irresistible, without interference. This symbolizes the people that are consciously on a path, consciously striving to move back towards God without question. They're being moved without resistance. These are the master teachers, the Jesus, the Buddhas, the people like that are moved without interference of this life. As you move further out, the water seems to slow down a little bit and hit resistances, and that's the people that are trying to conceive of that irresistible force without that resistance in their life, without the emotions, without the human struggle and strife of the limitations of earth. As you move further outward, There's eddies that seem to be running in circles on themselves at the edge of the bank, and it looks like they're just running in circles. But when closer inspected, eventually that water moves back out into the stream and is still driven irresistibly by the force that moves it. These are people that are confused with their life, that are drug addicted, that are emotionally damaged, but they're still being moved by that irresistible force of God. Even though they appear to be moving in circles, they will eventually, by that irresistible force, be moved back out into that path of love and hope, being moved back towards the presence of God. Within all of this analogy and the Spirit of God, spiritualism teaches us to try to have a personal experience with God, and that's where this all comes into play at. You as an individual are to try to reach that concept that you find comfortable with, that concept of God in your life that you can feel your life is guided by. Not my concept, not somebody else's concept, but something that resonates with you as an individual. Spiritualism tries to get you to have a personal experience with that force of God within you. They don't try to tell you specifically how to do it or specifically what it is, because that's why spiritualists don't say, they don't have a definition of God very much other than the type that I'm giving you. They're concepts. They're not irresistible laws that thou shalt and thou shalt not. It's concepts that you can bring in your own perception of God within. The other thing about the organization of the spirit side of life that I embrace fully is that there is no devil. Now, when spiritualists tell people that, they get all kind of upset and back up an arrow, really. And it isn't that we don't believe in evil. It's that we don't believe in this deity on the other side of life, projecting that towards humankind to make them do wrong. Our cornerstone of our faith is personal responsibility. You are responsible at all times for everything you do, every time you do it. There is no devil to blame it on. There is no person that made you do it that you can blame it on. You are responsible every moment that you make an action. Every word that you say, you are responsible for. It doesn't matter if you were drunk, they were drunk, you are responsible for that. And that's why we don't embrace the concept of a devil, because it gives you this concept of an overpowering entity on the other side of life that compels you to do things you're not responsible for. There is evil. It's generally a decision of a person that causes that. And that evil is the person not being consciously connected to that consciousness of God within them. They are acting on instincts, they are acting on emotion, they are acting strictly physically and emotionally driven when they act on that. And it goes right back to what I said in my thought for the day. It's trying to keep everything the same, keep control of everything, keep everything where they can manage it. Whether it's a nation they're trying to manage or their own life, it's the same dynamics that drive them. We do believe in angels, and our concept of angels, my concept of angels, is beings that have never been on the earth plane, will never be physically manifested on the earth plane, incarnated into a human body, and are basically messengers of God that are driven irresistibly by natural law. They have no freedom of choice. They are driven without question and without choice about the natural laws of God. And they are God's messengers to people. They are God's helpers to people. Because again, the totality of God is so far beyond our reality, there has to be these intermediaries that come to you. So there is this hierarchy of angels that are there for however you choose to believe in them. They're basically the intermediaries. Into this is where the Catholic faith and the spiritualist faith are a lot closer than people care to admit. The Catholics have this thing called the communion of saints, where all the people that have been sainted are supposed to be like St. Francis, the saint of the traveler. Different saints have different focuses for the earth plane when you think of them. They all have this particular strain, this particular quality, this particular virtue that is attributed to them. So the Catholics have this intermediary of living people that used to be on this earth that are now in the spirit realm, that invoke certain ideas, that invoke certain virtues and certain qualities of goodness in people. Spiritualism embraces what they call guides. These guides are people that have been on the earth plane, but have not been here for quite some time. They, as a spiritual being, have been enlightened to the higher potentials of natural law. They have been given the workings of natural law and are to a certain extent bound by natural law, not quite like angels are, but are bound by natural law not to unnecessarily interfere in your life. They give suggestions, they help at times when asked for ideas and thoughts. They can make you feel different urgings within your body, but they can't make decisions for you. And they can't compel you to make decisions. They give you another thought when there's only one thought in your mind. They give you a concept of different vibration rates of your life. It's taken me about 5 years to conceive all the guides that are on my, what I call a spirit team. Each one of them has a different perspective. One is what I call my life guide. That's the one that's been with me from birth and will be with me till death. That's the main guide that kind of controls everything that these other spirits want to bring to me. He's like the arbitrator. Yes, no, yes, no. This is the guy, that spirit that's in charge of my life on that side. I have one that works with me in the religious aspect of my life. That's not the same thing as spiritual. It's the religious organization of things. I have one that is currently present. Now, all these guides, they step forward or backwards at different times when different aspects are needed in your life. They're not all there as a pack picking on you at the same time. They kind of, as different qualities move up, then this different guide will step in. And I was asking for help to find comfort with this change in my life, with my relationship. And the one that stepped up, oh my God, this one steps up, and this one is always, every time this one steps up, there is a need in my life for compassion of my fellow man. And I'm going, this is going to be a rough one here. What I'm telling you. Because it's always very much about you and what you have to do to change. So these guides have different roles that they play, and they're not your guides. They're not just there for you yourself. It's a bit egotistical to think this high elevated spirit would go through these studies and these changes in their life to help mankind and be dedicated just to you your whole life. They have a group that they work with that same perspective. So it's not my guide. It is a guide that has chosen to work with me in that perspective. It always kills me when I hear that. My guide says this, and my guide says that. But it is a very private relationship that you have with them. Some people see them as personalized beings. Some people see them as orbs of light or colors of light. And either one is just as good as the other, because the influence, the acknowledgement that presence is there is what's paramount. It's not being able to see him or directly communicate with them that much, but just acknowledging that they're there. There was a group of individuals, not Methodists, I think it was the Mormons, that had these spirit books, and they were out in the field working, and every time they felt an angel spoke to them, they would write down in the book when that happened. And what that did was it put their mind on that vibration rate of spirit influence in their life. So the easiest way to get to know who your guides are is when you feel that outside guidance, when you feel that solution out of the blue, stop a minute and just say thank you for it. You don't have to act on it. You just have to acknowledge that you received it. And eventually that union will build as you work with that and acknowledge that guidance that was given to you. And then the final part of this is your spirit loved ones, the ones that you're connected to by a heart vibration that have passed to the other side of life. The other side of that is the genetic connection you have to everybody that's in your bloodline from the beginning till now. Everybody that you ever were connected with, that you have that biological bloodline with, is able to be seen. And I've seen that in people's lives. I did a reading one time from a platform like this at another church, and I brought through this guy that was a 17th century trailblazer, and I even got his name. And at the end of the service, the guy says, you know, you're exactly right. I've been researching my lineage, and he is really back there. So that proved to me that that genetic connection is true. The bloodline. The Chinese believe a lot in that the history of the ancestors. The Norsemen used to believe in that, the translation of the fathers and forefathers. So there is that in a lot of other religions, more pagan than this, but spiritualism has a pagan history to it too. So I find these different aspects very interesting. The loved ones are what mediumship tends to demonstrate within spiritualism. I was working with a student yesterday, and they said, well, mediumship proves that. I said, no, it doesn't prove anything. The difference between spiritualists and religions that ask you to take stuff on faith because of what they say is that we demonstrate our